Hello there, sword friends. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about this sword. This is a katana from Rick Barrett, one of the swords that's in my collection that I happen to be selling. And while I had it out and I was cleaning it, I thought I would share some of the fun times I've had with this sword and just general thoughts about it. Let's start with the kashra, as I often do. The kashra is made out of copper and has a triangular type of pattern to it. I don't know exactly what it's called. I'm sure it has a name, and it eludes me at this time. It's been blackened, and some of that blackening has worn off over time and through use. Also, it's a little bit loose. Not so loose that it comes off or is really detrimental, but it is loosey-goosey. I imagine if I put a little glue in here, it would stop. The knot isn't broken. Nothing is necessarily wrong with it, but the leather has given way, I suppose, is a better way to put it. And the lines on it aren't exactly great. This ska was not really made with the best shaping in mind. I'm not exactly sure what the reason behind it was, but there's just a little bit of overlap on either side of the fuchi and on the kashra as well, and I'll show you the fuchi later. Let's move on to the rest of the ska. The basic gist is that it has this leather ito on here, which is not as tight as I would like it to be, but at the same time it feels soft and it's tight enough for use. I've moved this sword around quite a bit and it hasn't really been a hassle, though admittedly if I push on them there is a little bit of give. In one section, the ito looks like it's been glued back together. I'm not exactly sure what kind of ito this is. And along the sides, it looks like it was kind of glued on without any... Well, basically, I can make out the pattern of the samegawa underneath where the edges are on the handle. Speaking of the samegawa, it's actually a pretty nice looking skin. It has some reasonably large size nodules, and the color of it has held up well over time. Underneath here you can see there are Mantis Manuki, and they come out pretty nice. I'm not sure exactly who made these Manuki. They look like they are cast and not antiques, though maybe they are antiques. They seem to have a reasonable amount of detail in them, and they are silver in color. I really actually like the look of these Mantis pieces on here. They're just blingy enough to pop out in the right way. The fuchi over here also has the same overlap as I mentioned before. The edges on this fuchi are rounded in such a way that it's not detrimental to using. I don't find it cumbersome to hold or to move around. It doesn't bite into my fingers, but it is certainly unsightly, particularly on a custom sword. If we look under the ska, first of all, the ska is not cracked. The core of it isn't bad. The Nakago on here is nice. It's made by Rick Barrett. It has his signature, and there's just some finish work on here that is nice. Now note that the Nakago is short. This handle extends a couple inches beyond the ska. The practitioner that owned this before me preferred to have longer handles, and basically I suppose the point is that's not bad. The gist is, though, that if you wanted to have a shorter handle, the Nakago would accommodate it without having to be cut down. The Suba on here, it looks to be a cast Suba. I'm not exactly sure who made it, but it has a Mantis theme kind of playing in the reeds. It appears to be a recast of an antique. That would be my speculation, though again, I do not know who made this. The habaki is another one that's a bit of a mystery. I'm not sure who made it, but whoever did a great job on it. The habaki has a little bit of kind of a rain pattern and a texture and a little line through it. It's just pretty classy. I like it. And on the spine, along the mune, it has these little shoulders, these little feet, which are often missed. The habaki is pretty well detailed. I do like the execution on the habaki. The sai has a bark pattern to it, and it's got lots of dings on it, which I suppose maybe make it look more like bark than it did before. But unfortunately, there are dings in the lacquer. It has a nice pattern, but it looks like it would be kind of difficult to patch. There are some bits on here that have already been covered in with a Sharpie. The koiguchi on this one is also just kind of a horn band around the edge, or I believe it's horn, perhaps it's plastic, and it's kind of been colored. The patina from the habaki is also rubbed off inside the koiguchi. That's what that green stuff is. In any case, the koiguchi execution isn't exactly as pretty as I would like it to be. It's certainly a way of doing it, but I'm not a big fan of how this came out. It does match pretty well with the fuchi, but at the same time, I just don't like the execution. There's a kochiri on this as well, which has what looks like dragonflies on it, little tambo decorations on there. And again, the transitions on here are just not as well done as they could be. There's a slight ledge, and it's those small details in a custom sword that really bring it out to me, and this one is just missing some of those details. It has enough custom pieces on it to be nice, and the detail, the thought outness of the overall presentation is really quite good. I like the theme, this Mantis theme going on with it. However, the small details with the transitions leave a little bit to be desired. Now I'll talk about the blade, the pointy stabby part, and the thing to note about this is that this blade was never really intended to be perfection. It was never designed, or the guy that owned it before me, I bought this blade as it is here now. He didn't want the blade to be, you know, completely finished. He wasn't looking for a blade that was, you know, in artistic. He wanted a user piece, so he had the blade polished in like a, you know, a practitioner polish, an EI polish, and by that I mean it didn't bring out all of the artistic details that you might bring out in a sword. A lot of times you might want something with cleaner lines, or where the hamon stood out a little bit more. This one wasn't that, but it was always intended to be used, so he didn't want to waste a bunch of money on something that was going to degrade into value almost immediately. Nevertheless, it's still great. It shows all the characteristics of a Rick Barrett sword. Clean, nice lines, very sharp, very strong presence in the hands. It's quite nice, and it has naturally this hamon that is quite lovely and pretty to see. There's a lot to look at, and a lot that could be brought out should somebody want to polish this. Now, as I talk about the blade, I am selling this, and I brought it out while I was cleaning it to kind of share. The way I look at it, if I were to do this again, I'd probably, well, one, I'd want a handle that didn't have some of the imperfections. I suppose you're looking for a blade that is a user blade that's ready to go, there's nothing really prohibitive about using this, and I'll show you some of the cutting footage in just a second. It does have imperfections and things like that, though. If you're looking for a blade that you can use right now and then perhaps later remount or refinish, then this is a reasonable candidate. All of the characteristics of a good blade are there. All of these minor imperfections in the blade could be removed and refined with another polish, and the handle is such that you could reuse the fittings and have them mounted in such a way where they don't have the same imperfections, or you could put another bit of fittings on. In any case, I'm not charging so much that you can't come out ahead if you need to put a new set of clothes on it and have the blade polished. Now, in terms of cutting, I use the blade quite a bit for cutting, and the previous practitioner used the blade for cutting, and the notable piece about that, which speaks to Rick Barrett's quality, is that this blade is just dead on straight. It's great. It has scuffs and some blemishes and stuff from stains from cutting, which is all par for the course, but the blade is straight. It doesn't have any twists, it doesn't have any bends. Nothing about this blade is bad, and that's a testament to Rick Barrett's overall build quality. A lot of times, if a blade was used as heavily as this one has, it would take some sets, some bends. That's not uncommon, especially with how terrible I am at cutting, and this blade has held up extremely well. There are really no notable issues. It's still reasonably sharp. It could use a sharpening, I suppose, to really get it to a super keen edge, but it's still really quite good. It cut really well. I cut plenty of tatami mats with it. I never really experienced any issues. The issues that I would say I had with it are more for my lack of skill than for lack of sharpness on the blade. I think the main point is that it just could use a little bit of refinement. This blade has been used quite a bit, and it's natural to lose some degree of sharpness on the blade, but when I say it's good, maybe a demonstration is more in order. Anyway, that is all I have for you. I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it at least helpful or interesting. If you have any questions about this sword or any of the others, please let me know in the commentary down below, and I will endeavor to answer them. As always, cheers, and thanks for watching.